according to the statute, to make sure you're doing things right. According to the statute. What's right in my mind, what's right in someone else's mind, isn't necessarily going to be in line with the statute. But let no man say that we're not making every effort to operate within the statutes. Let no one say that it's not transparent, because everything that's taken place, anybody wants it, you can look at it. It's going to be by the statute, and people will have access to it. And we obviously have to get paid for our copies, because we'll go broke buying paper. And that's just the way the cookie crumbles, as my mother would say. Does anybody have anything to add?
Based on that, Dan, then when would we expect, I don't know if Mike has had any issues, but monies that have been submitted or requests for reimbursement that have been submitted, when would we expect reimbursement for those bills that have been submitted that remain unpaid?
Well, barring a special session later this week, which I don't intend to do, I would like to have this in place Monday or Tuesday of next week, preferably Monday, at which point everything from that point forward, every action you take from that point forward has to be within the confines of what the law says. And bills that were submitted before and held up for one reason or another, if they were held up for a reason that is not within the confines of the statute, my suggestion would strongly be get it taken care of, because starting the effective date of this document, that's when you're going to be held accountable for operating within the confines of what the law says. Does that answer your question?
I have something. You just gave me 2 bills today. Not Jody, but
Right.
they got brought over.
Right.
So there's nothing the sheriff has other than those 2, and you just want me to process them as normal? I mean, I don't see where there's going to be an
Until
issue.
we rescind the old.
And then she had 3 she sent, and I think I got them back already for LE restitution. But
Yes.
that's what needs to be kind of come out from the commission is how the process. I'm pretty sure Mike understands. Like when he submits things to be paid out of general fund, that has nothing to do with me. I'm not
Right.
holding
That's
up
correct.
any bills.
Right.
It's I think Leah was under the impression that I was holding those. I don't have anything to do with it. That's the clerk's office. They pay it twice a month, and I did try to explain that. But I just wanted it clear that I'm not holding anything up. I don't have. The only thing I have is his 2 he just gave me about half an hour ago, and then yours I think have already come back downstairs to be paid. So
No, my bills I think were found in Deanna's office. The
no,
ones
they
that
were from
The ones that
clerks.
went through general, I only answered that email to you saying that I saw that they were going through the April 15th payment process.
Which comes from the clerk.
Which came through the clerk's office. They weren't
And so if
held
you
in
turn them
my
in like the
office.
7th, and I don't know what the cutoff date is that Rick has set up, but they don't get paid to the 15th. And then the next ones don't get paid again to the 30th.
Correct.
And then we kind of talked about conference stuff, how I just go ahead and pay it myself. We talked about that. And then I get reimbursed just to make sure I get it on time.
Right.
So I just wanted to make that clear so we all
No,
understood
I believe
that
there
there's
was
nothing.
a bill for the pizza for your employees
Correct.
that was returned to you.
Correct.
So if that has not been paid through some other fund already, then if you would return that to the treasurer, then she can get that
Great.
paid. As well as the...
And just for clarification, that was a working lunch at my office in January where we had some training, cross-training for the staff that I required. It's about 2.5 hours, and Mr. Gundy can attest. And so that I had submitted that in January through one of the discretionary funds and was returned to me indicating that it should come out of a different fund.
And
Which
I did
that,
yeah, because I didn't want it to sit in my office forever,
Right.
because it was...
but the fund that was suggested, unfortunately, wouldn't allow it either statutorily because the Law Enforcement Restitution Fund, Mike and I are under pretty strict parameters as to what those particular things can be used. So he and I work together pretty well in determining, and again, remaining consistent with what the law says that we are allowed to do. But again, I have no issue at all with someone, if anyone, whether it be the commission or whomever, or a public, a constituent wants to to look at those. I mean, that's
Right,
absolutely fine.
I think it is a good reflection, the fact that the funds, you know, Leah just inherited this stuff, but you know, you have a fund that you don't have to be transparent with, and you do it voluntarily.
Sure. And I'll continue to do that. I have no problem with that. I'm like
Right.
Leah, and I'll tell anybody, if you wanna know, I'll tell you what I spent it for. Whether I was good or bad in doing it, you have the right to know, and I'm still gonna spend it for that. You know, we pay for our dogs out of a lot of that discretionary fund, we pay for our
Right.
training, a lot of things. So I don't care that anybody wants to come and look at it. I have no problem with sending it to these ladies,
Right.
so it has the same flow. My only problem would be is if it's held up and it's not paid.
Right.
Because that's the problem we ran into before.
Right.
And of course, I've had late payments on my credit card for 2-3 months now, and that's just killing me, but.
Right, and, you know, I think what we have to keep in mind, everybody's role is from a legal perspective. You know, different ones have legal oversight to kind of look over the shoulder of other office holders. The ethical responsibility of what is taking place in your office falls square on the shoulders of the office holder. If Mike is doing something that I deem to be unethical, I mean, I think enough of Mike that I would go to him and say, Mike, I don't know about this, but the ultimate decision to do it rests squarely on his shoulders. We're not our brother's keeper from an ethical and moral standpoint. We're not the moral compass. The people are the moral compass. And come election time, if they judge that our moral and ethical character is lacking, pack your bags. The compass will speak. So, unless anyone has something else to add, we will adjourn for lunch. Okay.
Probably tomorrow or the next day.